Thanks for your patience, listeners. Julie and I...
I'm sorry. I was trying really hard.
Julie and I we're super busy this last week and couldn't get to the podcast. The station wagon wouldn't start up.
I'm so sorry.
But here is our episode all about giving up apologizing. Welcome to the Station Wagon. I'm the older brother, Marc.
And I'm little sister, Julie. This is the podcast where my brother and I give up something we take for granted and tell you how it goes.
Buckle up and enjoy the ride. So in this episode of the Station Wagon, we're going to be giving up apologizing.
That's right. And I see that in our script that you wrote for me. I'm supposed to say this. That's right. I would love to know what the definition is. Take it away, much smarter than me, big brother. Sorry, I'm just retching a little bit.
Well, that you did a really good job reading our script, and listeners, you got to see a little behind the scenes baseball there.
Yeah, breaking the fourth wall.
Right. And just so you know, Julie read it exactly right, except for the upchucking part. So she'll have to do better next time. Can I get an apology out of you, Julie?
I'm really sorry about that, Marc.
Ah-ha-ha!
Did that sound genuine or fake?
No,
because we'll talk about fake apologies later.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that hurt your feelings.
I'm sorry if you were upset by that.
That's a good fake one.
Yeah, that was good. Mistakes were made. Thanks to Mr. Ulrich Della Robbia for the idea. Thank you. If you have suggestions of things we could give up, contact us on Facebook, Twitter, or our website, wagonpod.com. You can pretty much trip over the internet, type in the Station Wagon podcast, and you can contact us.
Okay, do you really need to define? I know you love starting off our episodes with definitions.
What?
Is it necessary? Okay.
It's my shtick.
Okay, do it. Oh,
and
wow.
Tens of listeners, maybe even more than tens of listeners have said that they have learned something from the definitions. Like that one about what clothes are. Wow. Julie, that was a really good one. Come on.
Okay, great.
An apology is a written or spoken expression of one's regret, remorse, or sorrow for having insulted, failed, injured, or wronged another. So, for example, he demanded an apology from me for calling him a crook. And here's an example closer to home. Pogo owes me an apology for peeing on my Pixie sweatshirt.
Oh, no.
Pogo is sometimes a bad kitty.
Oh, man. Okay, but we are not going to stop apologizing if we pee on people's sweatshirts or...
No, that's true. If we have strong regret, remorse, or sorrow for having insulted, failed, injured, or wronged another person, I think we should apologize.
I agree.
Before we move on, what examples of an apology do you have, Julie, that really hits home that is true to that definition?
To that definition? Gosh.
Yeah. What about that 7 years and then you were born? Is that too harsh, Julie? You know, Mom and Dad were planning on downscaling the house.
Not having a station wagon?
Not having a station wagon. Dad was looking at Porsches. We were getting ready to go to college and stuff.
When you were 7?
I was advanced for my age.
Okay, what up? Your life got so much better because with a little girl in the family, there were Barbies around everywhere and stuff.
True, I got to practice all kinds of interesting things.
Ew.
Let's continue, shall we? Did you ever want to know where your Barbies were when you couldn't find them?
Moving on.
Moving on. Maybe we should.
See,
you're looking for
examples of apologies. Right. Oh, gosh.
Didn't you once slam somebody's finger in a door? Oh, no, that was your finger. Didn't you once drive over somebody's foot? Oh, no, wait, that was your foot. Oh, wait, didn't somebody once trap you in a closet and shine a bright light in your face so you got free? Oh, no, that was me doing that to you. Wait a second.
I guess I'm more of a victim, huh? I never thought of myself that way, but now too. What about you, Marc? What are some examples of where you've had to apologize?
Where I've had to apologize? Oh, lots at work, of course, because I am...
A jerkwad?
No, wait, maybe.
Oh.
Just with my kids alone. If my temper make them cry crushes me, even though I'm sure they were doing something incredibly awful and evil.
part of being a parent is like every once in a while I'll turn around and like yell at one of my kids and by accident say the other kid's name.
Oh, God.
And I feel so bad because I'm constantly calling them each other's names or one of the dog's names.
Right. I really like that definition because it talks about apologizing. Like you said, with the big reasons to apologize, right?
Right. Like actual remorse.
Yeah, I just ran over your cat, kind of,
Right.
kind of injuring or wronging somebody else.
Not, I didn't get to your email very quickly because I was in the bathroom. Like,
Right.
I don't actually have remorse because I'm a human being who needed to use the bathroom.
Or because I got in your way when we were both on the way to the bubbler.
Oh, right. Yeah. What's a bubbler?
A water cooler.
Oh.
Where you get water out of.
Oh, because it goes whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, right.
I get it.
But yeah, stuff like that. Do you apologize like that?
Constantly. I
really?
am totally apologizing so much. And that's why I really wanted to do this topic. Thank you, Ulrich, because it's a big deal. And I've been called out on it. Oh, sorry, Ulrich. See, I just apologized. Do I actually feel remorse? Well, a little bit, because that's hard. But yeah, I apologize probably 20 times a day.
What? Okay,
Yeah,
this is going to be awesome for you. So I think that I don't apologize that often. And also, I don't think that I really need to do, I don't do things that I need to apologize for. But we will be getting into that later.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, so Julie.
Yes.
Are you
drinking?
Quiz. Yeah, quiz.
Quiz.
Are you drinking your Smartie juice today?
I'm not. That one time I drinking Smartie juice was pretty awesome, but
okay, yeah. I am drinking my Smartie juice.
Okay, I'm smart without the juice.
So, what are the elements of a sincere apology? Choose all that apply.
Oh, I know this one.
I'm going. Well, wait. Do you want me to give you A, B, C, D?
No. One is owning what you actually did.
Accepting personal responsibility.
Two is indicating how it wronged somebody else. So it's not just sorry I did that. I'm sorry I did this. I realized that it made it take longer for you to get water when I stood in your way to get to the, what'd you call it, bubbler?
Bubbler, like showing remorse.
Right, is showing remorse. And then three is indicating your plan for not doing it again. Next time I see you walking towards the water cooler, I will deliberately stand back to ensure that you get to go first. I won't do it again.
That's like making reparations.
Yes.
Okay.
The end.
And there's actually a fourth.
Oh, curtsy.
That comes before making reparations, and that's offering an explanation.
Oh. Okay.
Like being honest and candid and simply describing why the offense happened. If it was inexcusable, you say so.
And if it's not, you're right. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah.
So this is what you would have to say to mom and dad.
Oh.
You would have to say something like, I'm really sorry that 7 years after the wonderful Marc was born, I was born, because I know that hampered your style and your desire to live the rest of your lives in Bermuda, and you had to pay for me to go to school. It was simply inexcusable.
I'm really sorry, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, very good. You got 3 out of the 4 right, so you missed that question.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, real good.
By the way, for the record, everyone, the reason why Marc's jabs aren't bothering me is because I'm the best kid and Mom and Dad love me best. So it's okay. And I'm the cutest. Okay, question 2.
What are 6 types of non-apologies according to Christina H. at Cracked Magazine? And you can, if you get let's say 2 out of the 6, I'll give you the point
Seriously?
for getting the question right. Sure.
Only 2? Okay, that's a low bar.
Well, your hit ratio is pretty low in general.
That's true. Okay. Well, one is the I'm sorry you got upset.
Right. So it's the sorry if.
Oh, I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings, but.
Right. Mm-hmm.
How about the no offense, but. That's a whole separate thing, isn't it?
Right. That's a preemptive apology.
Yeah, preemptive. Like when you say something that you know is going to need an apology, but you still go ahead and say it.
Right. Like I've heard this in corporate life a lot. I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but I believe X, Y, or Z.
Right.
Or you see that in forums on the internet a lot. In the
people are rude on the.
Just on the rude ones.
Just on the rude ones.
Right. That was really good. Well, you did great. You nailed it. Do you want me to read the rest of you?
Yeah, what are the other 4?
Yeah. So I deeply regret. So it doesn't require you to admit that you did anything wrong. And so, for example,
I regret this situation.
Happened. Right. So here's a classic example that recently happened. Walter Palmer. Do you know that name?
No.
He's the dentist that killed Cecil the tiger.
Oh yeah.
With a lion. Some animal.
As a cat owner, you should know the difference between a lion and a tiger.
I do. Lions are way more delicious.
Wrong.
Wrong. Bad, Marky. So yeah, he said, I deeply regret that my pursuit of an activity I love and practice responsibly and legally resulted in the taking of this lion. That was never my intention.
What? That doesn't even make any sense.
Basically, the interpretation of that is, I'm sorry this particular lion got in the way of my crossbow.
Right, exactly. I totally meant to kill a different
lion. Right, so he regrets it. He didn't take any ownership. Mistakes were made, and this is something very famous that Nixon said during Watergate. Yeah, mistakes were made. No ownership there, right?
Right.
Apologizing for someone else. Right? So, for example, I'm really sorry that you're so sensitive and get insulted by my sarcastic nature.
Yeah.
Sorry used as a punctuation. Julie, you stink. Sorry. Was that good?
That was pretty good.
All right. We already talked about the preemptive apology and apologizing for a completely different thing.
Oh, what does that mean?
You are caught, say, stealing money from your local Girl Scout troop.
Okay.
But you end up apologizing for, I don't know, you word it so that you're apologizing for the fact that the Girl Scout cookies didn't arrive on time.
Okay. All right. That's a weird example, but I get it.
Yeah. Sorry. I just came up with that one on the fly.
That's fine.
All right. So you did well on that one. Good job.
You just apologized for your example.
Oh my God.
I think maybe you apologize more than you even realize you do it.
I might. We might have to have another counter, or at least,
I know.
Like, let's use Google Keepy to just take notes on our phones. That's super quick. I'll tell you more about that later.
Yeah, and I bet your coworkers will help
me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Thank you, coworkers. Thank you, lovely, lovely coworkers. Number 3, who made a well-received, sincere apology to his wife and fans in 2009 for having affairs with staffers? Choose the best answer.
Letterman.
David Letterman. You bastard. Tom Brady or Strom Thurmond. Yeah, David Letterman. That's right. What do you know about that?
Just what you said, that his apology was well received.
Right, but what about it? I mean, why?
Probably, this is so cynical, but by that point, it just seemed like, oh yeah, of course a man in power had sex with women who were somewhat less in power in his presence.
Well, so what was interesting about it, and some of the reasons that it came over well, not only apparently to his wife because they're still together and have a son, but to the fan base and to his job because he kept his job and his fan base, was because it happened relatively quickly after the extortion plot against him was raised and brought out. So he was being extorted for a couple $1 million by a producer of Hard Copy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or some news show like that.
Here you are wronging Hard Copy.
Yeah, sorry, Hard Copy. See?
Yep.
What I did there? Basically, what he did is he used time on his show as a platform to apologize, and he cooperated fully with law enforcement, and he acknowledged to his audience that he'd been the victim of an extortion plot, and it explained everything that was going on to the audience.
Well, okay, so because he was also a victim of an extortion plot, I mean, is that essentially why people let him off, you think?
You know, I don't know, but it's possible, I suppose. But from the apology perspective on why it was a good apology, he was frank about that. He was frank about the fact that his actions had hurt his wife deeply. So that part, remember the parts of a good apology?
Right.
He accepted personal responsibility. He showed remorse. He had no explanation. He says it was inexcusable. There was no time of denial. There was no obfuscation or anything like that you see with other people.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Tom Brady didn't do anything.
Okay. So, I don't even know who that is.
So he's the quarterback for the New England Patriots.
It sounds like I got 2 out of 3.
Totally,
summary.
You did. In summary, Julie, congratulations.
Well, thanks.
2 out of 3. That was great. I'm very proud of you.
Wow. Oh my gosh, you're being so supportive. I love it.
Yeah.
Someday.
Well, I mean, what? Someday what?
I'm going to get 3.
Do you want to go into history?
Yes.
Of apologizing?
Yeah, because then we can get to the sciencey stuff faster, and that's what the people love.
Okay, yes, we can get there as fast as we want. In 1697. Do you see what I did there, Julie?
Yeah, it was hilarious. What happened in 1697?
Well, the Salem witch trial jurors apologized for what they had done during the Salem witch trial.
Whoa, really? I didn't know that ever happened.
Yeah, I had no idea either. This is totally new to me.
Wow.
And they actually they wrote a very formal letter, and I'll read like the last couple sentences with a link to the whole apology letter. It's amazing. We do heartily ask forgiveness of you all whom we have justly offended, and do declare according to our present minds we would none of us do such things again on such grounds for the whole world, praying you to accept of this in way of satisfaction for our offense, and that you would bless the inheritance of the Lord, that he may be entreated for the land. So
did they apologize for their run-on sentences?
I think they were a thing back then. That was like the thing. Run-on sentences, in 1697. But I mean, the whole letter is filled with the elements of a good apology. Granted, they couldn't unburn people at the stake. 1876, President Ulysses S. Grant, acknowledging the scandals that had plagued his 2 terms in office. It was the first time the phrase "mistakes have been made."
Oh, and he said it that way?
And he said it that way. He said, "Mistakes have been made, as all can see, and I admit."
Okay, so
right, so it's a non-apology for all of the things that had happened, right? But the first time that phrase had been uttered, or at least recorded as an utterance.
Right. Wow.
Famous politician. 1929. Sorry, the game was patented. The earliest variation of today's sari can be traced to England. Oh. What did I say? Sari?
Yeah, like dresses.
Sorry about that. Sorry. The earliest variation of today's sari can be traced back to England. And it was created by William Henry Story of Southend-on-Sea. 1986, apology laws start coming into a growing number of states. You know what apology laws are?
What does that mean?
Imagine you just ran over somebody's cat, and you feel awful about it, but you don't. Right? You do. Because how well could you replace a cat? Probably not so well, because you probably can't chase mice.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mary Poppins, for that reference. If you went over to the person whose cat you just ran over, theoretically, if you apologize for doing it, like, I am so sorry, I just ran over your cat, that could be used as evidence against you for your guilt.
Oh,
like if they wanted to have some kind of, I don't know, prosecution civil case against you for big money or whatever.
Okay, wait. So the apology laws make it easier to use that as evidence, or harder to use?
Harder. They make it so that it's a protective measure designed to encourage injurers to apologize.
Okay, I'm going to get back to that in the sciencey stuff. Fascinating.
Cool. Yeah, it's really fascinating and interesting. It doesn't protect all apology speech. They deny protection to expressions of remorse, guilt, and self-criticism, such as, "I'm sorry I let that happen to you."
Okay.
But they protect only expressions of goodwill, such as sympathy. "I'm sorry you're suffering," and benevolence. "I want to help you recover." So imagine, I mean, there's still broad gaps in that.
Yeah,
apology laws, for sure, right? But one of the things that I read about apologies in general, and that you kind of know intuitively, is that apologizing to somebody can be a huge mending offenses.
Absolutely.
It can go a long way just emotionally. 2009, Kanye West apologized for grabbing the mic from Taylor Swift at the 2009 MTV Music Awards. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, yep.
Yes, classic. Thank you, Kanye West. 2010, research published from Stanford University, Why Women Apologize More Than Men.
Yes, very good study.
Very good, interesting stuff. And what I was talking to Kendra about today was that this whole idea that men's threshold for perceiving offensive behavior is higher than women's. So that might be...
Can you explain that to our listeners a bit?
Yeah, so like we were talking about earlier, I go around my day knowing that I step on people's toes and that I bowl through people sometimes. Not really, though. I'm a very nice person. Meh. You just have to get to know me, Julie. And so so when I'm going through my day, there may be a lot of things that I do that just don't even register on my needing apology meter, where when you go through your day, your meter is set to be more sensitive, and therefore you register many more of your own behaviors that you think need apologies. That's
right. Yeah, the Schumann article that we've got cited here, both Marc and I looked at for this topic, and it's absolutely fascinating. Women, they charted all day long how much they apologized, and women did apologize more, but it was just because their threshold for what's a transgression is lower. But proportionally, they still apologized the same amount. So they still apologized for all the bad things that they thought they were doing, the same amount that men did.
Interesting.
They just thought they were transgressing all day long.
So if I thought I transgressed 10 times when I really did 100 times, I still apologize for those things that I thought. Those 10 times, but you would have thought you transgressed 100 times.
And apologized 100 times.
Right,
yeah.
got it. Okay.
Or maybe they both, men and women both apologize 90% of the time.
Cool.
You know?
2012, the most awesome website had their first blog post called sorrywatch.com. Sorrywatch analyzes apologies in the news, history, and culture. Was that a terrible apology? We say why.
Oh, interesting.
It was super awesome to read through there. They give really good analysis of good apologies and bad apologies.
Oh, cool. Okay. Have to
really cool stuff. Yeah, sorrywatch.com. 2013, Mike Jeffries' famous non-apology. Do you know who Mike Jeffries is?
Nope.
Listeners, shout it into your iPods.
Is it a sportsman?
No, he is the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh.
And so there's a little background here. In 2006, he gave an interview to Salon.com. And he was asked the question why Abercrombie's largest women's size is a 10.
Okay.
And Jeffries had said that his brand, sex appeal is almost everything. Quote, he continued, that's why we hire good-looking people in our stores, because good-looking people attract other good-looking people, and we want to market to cool, good-looking people. We don't market to anyone other than that. And that's very deliberate.
Wow.
So that was 2006 from the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch. And in 2013, he gave this non-apology. I regret that this thing I said eons ago was taken out of an unnamed and unclarified context. And I'm sorry you're interpreting this unnamed and unclarified context. I'm sorry, unclarified, contextualized thing in a way that is deeply hurtful to me.
Oh, wow. So this whole situation was really hard on him.
It was really hard on him. And yeah, and it was just super fascinating. And sorrywatch.com does an awesome write-up on it. You should go to their site to read more. We don't get on our platform much, but Jesus, don't buy Abercrombie and Finch clothes. Shop with your dollars.
Especially not Abercrombie and Finch, because that's not a thing.
Abercrombie and Finch makes awesome food for finches. Except it's very exclusionary. You can only goldfinches.
That's right. You have to be the right kind of finch.
You have to be the right kind of finch. And then finally, 2016 is me waiting for an apology.
Oh, no. From what? Is it from me being born again?
No, that was a wonderful thing. As you described earlier, as you think, it was a wonderful time in our family. No, I'm waiting for an apology from the companies and city planners that make my travel time out of Seattle, Fremont, to I-90 take up to an hour on some nights. I mean, seriously, Julie, what would happen if I needed to leave the city in a hurry because of the zombie apocalypse? I'd be screwed.
Yeah, well, you'd be food for zombies.
Moving on. Do you want to get into the sciencey stuff?
I do.
That was history.
Yay, history.
History of apologies. That was all apologies through history.
Right, every single one.
I have included a link to a webpage that does list out several hundred very famous apologies through history.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, and yeah, they probably do pack a punch. And when there's a big apology, it is history. It is news.
Sure.
Okay, so apologies are very important. And the literature that I reviewed covers,
as I've discussed already,
covers both big mistakes like medical errors and really little things like not holding a door open for someone.
Oh boy.
So I'm going to be talking about both those kinds of things. But what's interesting is a lot of the literature does actually talk about medical errors because this is a huge thing in medicine. Medical errors happen a lot, unfortunately, although we are coming up with some great ways to reduce them. Maybe
are you talking about like removing a leg instead of a kidney kind of medical error?
Well, sure, but one of the biggest medical errors that happens is leaving a foreign object inside a wound.
Oh.
Or inside.
Oh, like a
junior mint.
Oh my God. Or like, what's his name? The alligator from Peter Pan who had that clock surgically implanted in him.
Exactly like that. So
God.
when what's his name from Peter Pan had the clock surgically implanted in him.
TikTok the alligator. Right?
That's right.
Thank you.
So this costs the medical field tons of money.
Right.
But also, it's really bad for how people think about medicine.
Way
And
to put
the
that
worst
second
thing
in
is,
that paragraph. Very good.
well, and also,
Do you need me to read your notes first?
and it's also bad for the people who suffer. Yes, we need to fix that. But a lot of the literature covers this. What's the best way to apologize? Should we apologize? And that's why I was so interested in the apology laws you mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of
They were
course,
very interesting.
they were very interesting. Because a lot of times the folks in the medical field are hesitant to apologize because of fear of even bigger malpractice suits.
Right.
And we know malpractice suits are already such a big problem.
Yep.
So apologizing is important for both the person, for the victim, and I'm using victim kind of in a weird way here. I mean, a victim of a major issue, but also
The injured.
the injured of someone whose the door was not held open for them.
Right.
So
I mean, an injured can be for something small or something big.
Right. Okay. So for the injured and the transgressor, either the person who ran
The injurer.
No, that's going to be hard to say. The rural juror from 30 Rock. Okay.
If you had gone to the public schools I had gone to, then you would have learned proper diction.
You should have waited 7 years to be born so that your parents could have been more affluent.
Good one.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Yes.
All right. Anyway, apologizing is important for the victim, but also for the transgressor. For the victim, of course, it can reduce anger and thus help them move beyond the event. But even for the perpetrator, the transgressor, it reduces their uncomfortable feelings of guilt. So it can be helpful on both sides.
In a real way, not in, I mean, when you
Exactly.
sincerely apologize, like, say, David Letterman in that example did, I mean, it helped both sides of the problem.
Absolutely. So there's some research showing that apologizing can actually help patients heal after a medical error. I know that sounds kind of like, ooh, but what I mean by that...
sound a little bit woo-woo, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not that the apology magically helps. It's that when a victim is very angry, that increases all sorts of sympathetic nervous system activity. And so by helping reduce that anger, it could potentially actually help people heal. When you are really angry in addition to injured, it's especially difficult to be able to relax and focus on getting better. There's some research saying it does potentially reduce malpractice claims as well. But of course, we're all still hesitant to apologize because you're afraid it means I apologize, therefore I didn't sue me. So let's talk about people with trait hostility.
These God, like you?
Like me.
Like people who stink a lot. Like you.
That is a very different issue.
Julie, wait. I've got a question for you.
Okay.
What's ugly, smelly, and named Julie on Skype with me right now?
That was a very hilarious joke. People who it takes very little to get them really riled up.
Trait hostility.
Trait hostility.
Do you mean like one trait, like one of their?
No,
they're hostile about one of their traits.
The word trait there is like as opposed to state hostility. State hostility is where you're hostile just in the moment because of something really horrible. Like if I came over and just smacked you in the face, you might feel a sense of hostility towards me. But that would be state hostility due to what's happening right in that moment.
Got it.
Trait hostility is, more like someone who is just consistently very easily hostile.
Like if I need anger management classes.
Exactly. So someone with trait hostility for these folks, and these are the folks who potentially could get in trouble more often because of anger or who might be more likely to engage in a physical fight. A real apology can help reduce their potentially aggressive anger. So they basically took people with trait hostility and angered them in a study.
My God.
Yeah. And then the person who had angered them, there were 3 conditions. They either gave a very seemingly genuine apology. I mean, of course, how genuine can the apology be when this is happening in a study?
Right.
They gave a fake apology, like, I'm sorry you were upset by that, or not apologizing at all. And then they watched their blood pressure and heart rate.
Oh,
So the real apology reduced their heart rate and blood pressure. It actually did reduce anger.
wow.
The fake apology had the same effect as not apologizing at all.
Wow. Did it even make the person more angry because it felt like a huge waste of time?
No, it was just
Because I've been on the end of something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So fake apologies are pretty interesting. By age 5, kids can tell if someone's actually showing regret or not. I read that in a study, and it's so true. My 5-year-old will say, that apology wasn't real.
Right, sure. Say you're sorry for hitting... Sorry.
Yeah. Jeez. That wasn't a real sorry.
Right, yep.
Okay, so now let's talk about gender.
Okay.
Because this has been something you and I have been talking about quite a bit as we were gearing up for this episode.
Yep.
So I loved this amazing study. It's the Beyens and colleagues study in our show notes. Okay. So they used a mild electric stimulus, meaning electric shock.
Awesome.
I love these studies.
Anything with electric shock has to be good.
Okay, pretend you are an introductory psychology student and you're doing this study because you have to pass your class or whatever. Okay, you're in a room and you're told you're going to be playing a quiz game or doing something like that. And every time you get it wrong, this other student who's also in this study is going to shock you. And they get to decide how much to shock you. They might just do it a little bit or a lot, and they'll decide, okay? And then later, you'll get a turn to be the person scoring their answers, and you'll get to decide how much to shock them. All right, let's get started. So then you answer a bunch of questions, and every time you get it wrong, you get shocked. Then it's about to be your turn. You get to shock the other person now, but you get a note. And the note either says, hey, I'm really sorry about that. I was just trying to figure this out. Sorry. Hope you're doing well. This is kind of a crazy experiment, huh? Or the note just says, wow, kind of a crazy experiment, huh? And doesn't say sorry.
So either with or without an apology.
Exactly. And of course, there is no other person. There is no other psychology student. Right.
There's no person actually doing the shocking.
Well, there's an experimenter doing the shocking. That's right. The person scoring your answers does not actually exist. The dependent variable, what they were looking at.
Jesus.
Okay, I won't say that. What they were looking at is the folks who had been shocked, the shockees, the real participants here, how much did they shock the others? How much did they try to punish them? And of course,
when it was their turn to do the shocking.
Exactly. And what you would expect happened, that if the person had apologized, they were more lenient on them. They didn't shock them as much. And that was true for men and women. But what's interesting is the women in this study made bigger assumptions about the individual's character if they apologized. And this is a really big theme that I saw throughout the literature. To women, apologizing seems really important. It seems like a very important character trait. So, for example, another study, after terrorist attacks in Spain, a study looked at empathy for perpetrators and apologizing. Women felt much more empathy for the perpetrators. But they also indicated that they needed apologies before experiencing any kind of resolution. This wasn't as important to males. Males reported a lot of anger. They felt less empathy for the perpetrators, which is kind of our stereotypical way we would think about gender. And they didn't really care about apologies either. That was not part of what they saw as a need for resolution. Another thing that's different about women and men, in general again, women might see apologizing as a way to help someone else save face, especially to save face after a social transgression, because it's embarrassing to be the victim. And when women are apologizing, it's a way to help reduce the other person's shame by sharing some of it. So kind of interesting there. And then that Schumann article we talked about before, which is awesome, that, yeah, women do apologize more, but it's because they think of so much more as a transgression. And proportionally, they still apologize the same amount. However, this is kind of one of the keys here. It's not just women who tend to apologize more. In the workplace and in other situations, it tends to be people of the lowest social status and work status who apologize more. So is more likely to be the person on like the lowest rung of your corporate ladder in corporate America who might apologize a lot, and people might not even realize that they're apologizing often because it just seems most natural. So that might also be why women tend to apologize more, because perhaps, especially in the work environment, we tend to be of lower social status.
Interesting. And also the idea that crap rolls downhill in corporate life.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So here's my summary. Maybe putting all this together, the Beyens article, the trait hostility, all of this, perhaps women and those of lower status, maybe we tend to apologize more out of kind of a natural self-protective motive, maybe by reducing aggression of others around us, especially if we're more vulnerable. I mean, obviously, we're not vulnerable in the workplace, like a lion attacking vulnerable. But if you feel more vulnerable, like if someone's going to get fired, it's probably going to be me, that kind of vulnerability.
So you're kind of even suggesting an evolutionary trait that has developed to protect oneself against an aggressive world.
Exactly. I mean, perhaps whenever one is in that like lowest common so at any rate,
right.
I
well,
don't
that's
know if
super interesting.
So if anyone has a grant out there that they would like to give me to study that, looking for a sponsor. But I have one more interesting note for you. Apologies are more powerful when they come from people who don't ordinarily apologize. So, for example, the research shows that when managers and males apologize, it tends to pack a bigger punch. It's just taken more seriously, and it tends to go over better and has a stronger effect. So let's say your team makes a mistake. You should have the highest status person on the team be the one to apologize. Have the one in the highest pay grade, the one who's got the biggest title, be the one to apologize. And that way your apology is going to have a much bigger effect.
Yeah, they have the ultimate accountability for the success of their team. So if they're putting themselves out there as an apology or with an apology, it's also potentially putting a target on their back.
Okay, so what are we going to do? Because if I run over someone's cat with my car, I do want to apologize.
Right. I think what we need to do is not think about apologizing or not apologizing. Like, does this situation call for an apology or not? We should just say, we're not apologizing based on that definition. And then we would, of course, if you run over somebody's cat or do something that's actually physically grievous, then you should apologize.
Oh, that's going to be hard. What
Why?
if I hurt somebody's feelings?
If you hurt somebody's feelings?
I don't smack them with my fist, but I smack them with my words.
So, Julie, my prediction is that this is not going to go well, and I'm going to lose my job.
Oh, Mark.
What's your prediction?
I'm going to keep apologizing constantly, and then I'll apologize for apologizing to you next time.
Even in the times where I apologize and it might have been unnecessary, there was tact in it for me. So, for example, I might apologize to someone that doesn't deserve the apology so that I don't have to deal with their wrath. And that is valuable to me. And I would rather apologize unnecessarily than dealing with that angry customer or person that gets offended by me not saying sorry.
It's about being in public and being in stores and, two people reaching for the cart at the same time and looking up at the person and saying, oh, I'm sorry, you go ahead and take it. That's my natural instinct. Is I just saw your hand. We were both reaching for the cart at Target. That happens to me all the time. And then, you do the gracious thing, which is to recognize that there's another person there and then to let them go first. It sounds like an apology, but really it's about like, oh, we just occupied the same space for a second. Let me remove myself and you can go first.
Oh, I remember apologizing. I remember it well. So I was dumped a little over a week ago, and the reason that I was given was that I wasn't communicative enough, or not communicative enough. I wasn't attentive enough. And so I apologized profusely. Didn't make a difference. That's okay, because you know what? I was genuinely sorry, and that's what counts, I feel like.
Thanks, Tiffany, Johanna, and Josh.
This episode is sponsored by Rumble Marketing. Rumble Marketing will help you explain even complicated products and services simply, crisply, and with compelling, emotional, resonance. Call Rumble to nail your brand voice, communicate key product messaging, or schedule an award-winning workshop to train your sales and executive teams to create more effective business communications.
You can find Rumble Marketing at rumblemarketing.com and on LinkedIn. You can also go to Rumble Marketing for your social media strategy and execution. So if you need help with promotions, fan engagement, fan growth, that doesn't mean making your fans bigger. It means getting more fans. So
good one, Julie. Your act is really coming along.
It's like a gift for your business. For Valentine's Day, if you love your business, go to Rumble Marketing.
Hey, Julie, how you doing?
I am good. How are you, Marc?
I'm doing really good. I'm glad this one's over.
Oh, really? You were thinking that this wasn't going to affect you at all.
So we've been giving up apologizing for the last 2 weeks.
We've been trying.
And yeah, you want to tell us how it went?
Yeah, the first few days, I think I was pretty cognizant of it, and it was really exhausting thinking about it all the time. As I mentioned before.
When you say you were cognizant of it, which part of it?
Like the need to apologize. Okay. I think after this 2 weeks, I think of apologizing as a social shortcut. A situation in which it's difficult to explain a variety of different emotions. I just kind of use apologizing as a shortcut. Does that make sense?
Right. Give me an example. So I guess I shouldn't have said right. No, that doesn't make sense. Give me an example.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm not very good with the. Okay, just now. I couldn't think of a good example real quick. I could have just said, you know what? I don't have a good example. Let's move on. Instead, I was like, sorry.
Right.
Don't
and
hate
so what did
me
that
for
sorry
this.
mean?
That sorry meant, please don't be upset with me.
Really? You were actually deflecting somebody being upset at you by that sorry?
Yes, I was.
Wow.
So, yeah, I did reduce my apologies, but mostly in written correspondence, because every time I sent an email where I normally would have apologized, I was able to delete it, and that happened daily. So, for example, I'm pretty busy, and sometimes I don't get back to people immediately. What I often do, and I'm not going to do this anymore, is I would say, sorry for the delay, blah, 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 psychology data. And I changed it by using thanks. And it took me a couple days, but now this is my new catchphrase. Thanks for your patience. Blah, 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 blah. And now Dr. David Cooper has suggested that we give up thanking people because apparently I do that too much, but I still think it's stronger and more assertive than just starting off with an apology. If you get an email from somebody, you start off with an apology. Totally. What are you going to think about that schmo?
In my 20 years of working in corporate life, apologizing
you're
email,
old.
I am old. And, it really sets a tone.
Yeah.
It definitely sets a tone that you're like climbing uphill basically for the whole email after that.
Oh, totally.
But thanking somebody for their patience. Yeah, they actually probably were being a little patient if you got delayed. Yeah, that makes sense. Totally makes sense. So have you received any kind of feedback on that?
No, but
do you feel better?
I definitely like that for my emails. And the big thing for me was my biggest goal for this challenge was not just the email and the interpersonal interactions, which I'll get to in a minute, but just like meetings and behavior in meetings. Because I'm, trying to set an example as like professional woman. Yeah. And being the one who apologizes all the time is bad. So twice I apologized for being female while speaking, but only twice.
What does that sound like? What do you mean being female while speaking? What does that look like?
That looks like this. Oh, sorry, I'm just monopolizing the discussion, but...
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's no good, Julie.
No, it's no good. And it's probably not quite as bad. I'm definitely exaggerating a bit. But I did apologize twice for talking so much. And that's not good. It just slipped out. And, everyone smiles when I say it. And I do speak more than most people in meetings. But
you're the leader of the organization.
Well... part of the organization, and I'm talking about so that's an interesting distinction. I didn't apologize with that respect in meetings in which I was the highest status person.
So you didn't apologize,
highest ranking person.
So what you mean is you didn't apologize for speaking too much when you were the highest ranking person in the room?
Right. It's only when I'm outranked that I apologized. Or that I felt that need to apologize. Well, first of all, I think when I am the highest ranking person in the room, I'm also very careful to not monopolize the discussion, although I probably do anyway. But I want to hear everyone else's opinions first, because just if the highest rank, especially when you work in a hierarchical organization, if the highest ranking person expresses an opinion, it makes it very difficult for everyone else to express an opinion. Essentially, when I'm in a meeting where I feel like I'm speaking more often than others are, I had felt the need to apologize, which I often do. And this time I only did it twice, which is an improvement, but still not quite there.
So is that twice in the last 2 weeks?
Yes.
Wow, that's really good.
So it's better. It's better.
I mean, was that usually a daily occurrence?
Not a daily occurrence, but definitely a frequent occurrence.
Okay.
And it's something that's been pointed out to me before by other women in the workplace of, hey, you're the highest ranking female. Stop apologizing for yourself.
Very good.
And it's great feedback. And I
good
totally
on them
agree.
for doing that. Yeah, like I said before, and I'll say it again. Somebody needs to bring you in line, Julie.
But okay, so the hardest one for me wasn't so much that one, because that one I do think I'm getting better at. But it's just the general social interactions of just day to day. Being a human in the world, apologizing for everything. And by the end of the 2 weeks, I was better than normal because I was aware, but I still did it all the time. And I kept track of the stupidest ones.
Like what?
And
tell me.
The two worst ones were once Jason spilled a cup of water all over the counter.
And Jason is your contractual, legally arranged spouse. Is that correct?
Exactly. That pretty much describes it. Yep.
Okay.
On paper, I love him.
Good.
And in reality, too.
Good.
Anyway.
IRL?
In IRL, I heart him.
I don't think you need to say in IRL.
Oh, right. IRL. Yeah, that's redundant. The I is for in. Yeah. Anyway, he spilled a cup of water, and I immediately said, sorry, I left a cup of water out.
What?
And
wait, what? Hold on a second. Maybe I'm slow and drinking too much Smartie juice for this podcast, but did you just say that he spilled a cup of water and you apologized for the water existing?
Yes, and then he says, Julie, this was a cup of water I poured myself.
What?
It wasn't even a cup of water I put out
All
there.
right, so we were raised by the same parents, right?
We were, but here's the thing. It's that social shortcut of I want, and it relates to that research I reviewed last time where women use apologies to decrease shame. So I knew he was experiencing shame for having spilled water like a toddler.
So not your own shame, you for like a toddler. You were trying to decrease, you're trying to allow him to save face, is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
got it.
So like,
okay.
I'll share some of that responsibility. Yeah, you held that cup of water as though you had dog paws.
I got it. I'm sorry I keep interrupting you. See, I just apologized. In this podcast, we need not apologize because this is a safe place.
You can apologize a little bit more than you do.
Gosh. Who are you trying to help him save face in front of? The dogs?
That's a good question.
The
Maybe
dogs
to
that
himself.
were probably throwing up on your carpet at that moment?
That only happened 5 times.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe to himself, preserve his male ego or something. I mean, he's got a fine male ego. I don't think it needs preserving. I don't know.
Jason, you do have a fine male ego. I've seen it.
Fine ego.
Yes.
But that wasn't the stupidest time. A different time, I apologized for the sun existing.
What? Tell me.
I was talking to someone who I know doesn't really like sunny days.
Oh, God.
It's in the Pacific Northwest on purpose. We had a rare sunny day. I was saying goodbye, and I shouted out, "Sorry for the sun!"
No way.
I did. And as it was coming out of my mouth, I was kicking myself. I'm like, why? Why? Why did I do that? That makes no sense. And I was dissecting it.
Okay, so what did you come up with? Did it meet? Okay, so we have that really nice play-at-home game printout that you've probably seen, Julie.
No, what?
What?
Oh, I thought you were saying that you have a game that you guys play like Monopoly, except it's called Printout.
No.
That's the most boring. That's the kind of game that people who run paper companies play.
We also have a game called Paper Cuts. That's just a little different, though. That
sounds like a kind of game you would have forced me to play.
There's probably a few listeners out there who have downloaded and printed out, maybe even have hanging in their cubicles. Write in if you do. The printout that I made that shows our definition.
Oh, right.
And I was calling it our home game. You can play with us at home, and we'll do it for the next episode too. It was very popular. And, but yeah. So, which part of that definition were you trying to apologize for?
I wasn't, and I think again it was a social shortcut of I was trying to bond with that person by indicating that I remembered that he doesn't like sunny days.
Huh.
And
that's so weird.
Sorry for the sun was my. I know, dude. This one
actually,
isn't even excusable.
So this is a written. That was a spoken expression of your
regret. A shouted expression
for your regret for having
that he had to suffer.
That he had to suffer. That he was injured, maybe not by you, but by something, by the weather. But yes, totally unwarranted. What could you have said? Like if you could redo that moment, what could you say?
Too bad it's sunny. I know you don't like that because I'm thoughtful.
Right?
Yeah, I don't have a good one. I'm hoping maybe someone else can help me out here. What would you say? I mean, I guess the best one would just be, see you later. You know, and like, I don't need to use every social interaction as a point to indicate, hey, I care about you and understand your feelings.
I like that you're a very caring and empathetic person. I think that's great because you have so little else going on.
Okay, so one more reflection on these 2 weeks, and then I will move on to you, Mr. Non-Apologizer, who, frankly, does seem to apologize quite a bit.
Hey, don't spoil my thunder.
Okay.
Don't take my thunder.
Sorry for your thunder.
Sorry for unthundering you.
Sorry for spoilage.
Spoilage, that was good.
Thanks.
I like that, yeah.
So I was saying goodbye to my daughter as I was leaving for recording.
Which daughter?
And my youngest.
Okay.
And we were hugging, and her head came up as my head came down, and I banged my chin on her head a little, not too hard. And just one of those things that happens. And neither of us got really hurt, but she said, "Oh, sorry." And I realized, oh no, I'm instilling this in her. Like, she didn't do anything bad. She was just coming in for a hug for her mommy. So that, I definitely need to keep changing this one. This is one of those challenges that after our 2 weeks are up, I'm going to keep up the battle.
Well, you know, I hear
think
you.
This one was really important. Well, what did you think?
Well, I heard you on that last one with your daughter, but, you know, she actually hurt you. So I don't think there's anything wrong with apologizing in that case.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know, or she could have said, "Oh, Mama, did I hurt you?" And then,
or are you okay?
Or are you okay? Yeah, instead of just immediately taking ownership by using the word sorry, right? That's what a lot of this comes down to for me.
Yeah,
and the people I was talking to is the word sorry we use a lot instead of other phrases or expressions that don't take ownership for things that we shouldn't take ownership for. Like your thing with the sun. You don't take ownership for that.
Right.
Okay, so for me, I was saying that I don't think this is really going to affect me. You know, I don't really apologize for much, blah, blah, blah. Well, turns out I actually apologize quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah, I
thought you would do at least a couple times a day.
Well, that's what I did. So So I actually tried to record every time I apologized, not just the really dumb ones. And so let's see how many it is here.
Big reveal.
Yeah. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
You're such a dork.
Yeah, so I had 20 and I stopped recording about 2 or 3 days ago. So it's like 2 or 3 a day that I recorded, and that's with me trying not to apologize.
Oh, okay. And were those like genuine, like you really should have apologized because you ran over someone's dog?
I don't think so.
Do you have any examples?
Yeah, I've got tons of examples. So, all right.
You're so devoted.
Yeah, so I used Google Keep for this. It was really great because you can just talk into your phone and it will record the audio and transcribe it for you. Little plug, Google. We're looking for sponsors. Okay, so I apologized to you for breaking our website.
Oh, yeah.
That was really smooth.
That was legit.
Okay, so that was pretty legit, right?
Yeah, it is. Wagonpod.com is back up and running.
Yes. I apologize to a couple coworkers for constantly moving up and down on the screen of an Excel spreadsheet while I was in their office showing them like a presentation.
Okay, so you were doing your job.
Yes. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, God, I'm sorry. I can't keep this thing straight. I apologize to a friend at lunch for signing on his receipt instead of my own. Was that? Oh, I said quite a few times, I'm sorry. What did you say? Weird one, right? Oh, I apologize to Kieran for slamming on the brakes in traffic. You know, Kieran's my carpool buddy.
So you apologized for saving Kieran's life.
Yeah, right? He's totally ungrateful.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Kieran. Jeez. He owes me.
He doesn't owe us. He listens to this stupid podcast.
That's true. I apologize to Sandlin for laughing at her face.
What? Aww.
I don't know exactly. I should have put down why I was doing these awful things.
Gorgeous Sandlin. Dude,
yes, I don't know why.
Damage?
And I wrote laughing at her face. I wonder if I meant laughing to her face because there's nothing really wrong with her face.
Nothing really wrong with her face.
No. Oh, let's see. And I have right above that, I apologize to Sandlin for changing the direction in our conversation. Oh, and then right above that, I apologize to Sandlin for giving her a crappy chair. So Sandlin's...
Poor Sandlin.
I don't know what the deal is. Let's see. Anything else here that was really good? I said I'm sorry to Kendra because she woke up with a headache. I said, I'm sorry you have a headache.
I feel sorry for you.
I said, I'm sorry you have a headache. But I shouldn't have apologized to her, darn it. I should have said, that's nature. She just walked into my podcast studio and is giving me stink eye. I was sorry that you had a headache.
Yes, because that's empathy. That's not guilt.
Oh, she said yes because that's empathy. That's not guilt.
Right.
It's a different meaning of an apology.
Have you ever talked to one of those jerks who, like, they have a headache and you're like, oh, sorry. And they're like, not your fault. And you're like...
I know it's not my fault. I was expressing empathy, you
expressing
silly
empathy and
person.
being nice, but I take it back.
I take it back.
Sorry.
Yes, and I hope it hurts more. Yes, I have met those kind of people, totally. But anyway, that was my experience. It was hard, really hard to stop apologizing because of all these things I do. It just rolled out of my mouth as punctuation. Yeah. Like giving Sandlin the chair. It wasn't really a crappy chair. It was a fine chair. It was just a little shorter. Did I need to apologize to her? Only Sandlin can decide, I suppose. But
Sandlin, please write in.
I think I apologized in ways that I really didn't need to. It just rolled out of my mouth, Julie.
Yeah, we probably all do this more than we think we do.
A few of my coworkers were trying to keep their amount of apologizing lower, so that was really interesting to watch them go through it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to keep working on this one.
Me
this
too.
is going to be one of my longer... You too.
Yeah, totally. It's just like social noise. You know,
Yeah.
It deflates the actual intent of when you actually should apologize.
Well, that's a very good point. Like, if you apologize all the time, then when you actually are sorry, just like with the thinking, you know, and I think that might be part of Dr. Cooper's point.
Wait, with the thinking?
Thanking, thank yous.
Oh, what about with the pronunciation?
How about with the patronizing?
Okay.
When you thank people constantly, then when you really are quite grateful, it doesn't carry as much weight.
Right.
So this was a good one. If you want to hear other good ones, go to wagonpod.com where you can listen, view show notes, and subscribe to our podcast.
Yeah, connect with us on Facebook. You can search for the Wagon Podcast. Connect with us on Connect with us on Facebook. You can search for us at the Station Wagon Podcast and Twitter as @WagonPod.
That's right. And we are putting out the call again. If you could, please, we beg you.
No,
not beg.
No. Go back on that whole thing.
No begging.
No, call to action, not call to forgiveness.
Okay. If you felt like it, no begging.
Not if.
Go to iTunes. Give us reviews. Like that?
Yes.
Like Northwest Psych, who wrote
like
American
Crazy Eddie.
Northwest Psych wrote, it's hilarious hearing their experience, and they are real-life brother and sister, so it's pretty funny hearing them slip in and out of professional adult speak into, shut up, you stupid punk. That was definitely quoting Marc there. But thank you, Northwest Psych. Also, thank you to the Pleasure Kills for the use of the song Modern Problems.
Thank you, Pleasure Kills.
And thanks to Rumble Marketing for keeping us in the black.
And thanks to our spouses and wonderful children for putting up with us. And our spouses are wonderful too.
Hey, what's going on next time?
Next time on the Station Wagon, we will be giving up listening to music.
And one of my favorite podcasts, Olympia Pop Rocks, has already started giving up music for 2 weeks. And they are actual musicians and music people. So I imagine it's going to be way, way, way harder for them. But we'll hear more about their experience next time, too. You can learn more about Olympia Pop Rocks in our show notes. Shut up, dude. Sorry for the thing. Shut up.
Wow. You just flew off the handle and told me you're sorry at the same time. Were you really sorry, not sorry?
I was really sorry. I felt bad.